I'm just
it
I'm
should
just
make the
adding like a
screencast
The doors
background.
happen,
painted.
or
Okay.
possibly press the power button and press
I'll
it
try the
again.
power button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was the power.
Yeah,
Power
what's the
button.
power? Yeah.
I don't have a power
Oh,
button.
your hands went like they did this
Yes.
sideways thing.
Yeah, that works straight away. Power button on the headset.
That's
Well, that's
cool.
good to know.
Hmm.
Yeah, we might be able to figure out what's gone wrong with that. In fact, based on that
That's a
This
bit
is a
weird.
little
information.
weird thing. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't pick up the pen.
Ah, okay.
Well,
So,
shoot.
Ah!
Faye, would you be okay to take notes just during this event since you're there in
Sure.
2D mode? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
You broke
Right.
the pen
Well,
somehow. I can't do
I
it.
did break.
we are
Oh, you
streaming as well,
can't?
right?
Oh
No.
Guys, so
no.
this is a slightly different event. That's
Okay, I'm
fine.
just
Thank you,
gonna
Triseki. I appreciate that. Uh,
rejoin.
this
You
is a
megaphone?
slightly different event. No, I'm not megaphoned.
Oh.
uh, yeah, I did that on purpose, right? So this is different to our usual space makers where I stand up megaphoned in front of you. This is a conversation between us. This is more like, just a group back and forth here. So I've specifically not megaphoned myself for that reason. Before we jump into it, I'll also tell you that I'm going to give away a random quest 3 at this event, right? I just dropped that
Oh.
into the Discord too. So let's see if we just get flooded by randomers. But if they come in, we'll ask them, when it comes to avatars, what do you treasure? Oh, there's Mikey. Hey, Mikey. Good to see you. Just in time. uh, yeah. So basically, guys, for anybody who's not aware, we're looking at potentially building out our own custom avatar system. And I think it's fair to say that we definitely like a lot about Ready Player Me avatars, right? Particularly for me, I like the general proportions of them. I see a lot of platforms with overly sized heads, big Disney eyeballs. Tokra, we love you, of course. I don't mean anything against you. But
I knew that coming.
I'm still using the normal skeleton, normal
but
armature.
yeah. Well, you see, this is it. I like it when changing heads. Everybody here knows, right, that I have an appreciation for a different head size, let's say. But I like it when that's the exception, not the rule, right? And that's I guess what I mean. A lot of other platforms, I think, uh, the avatars tend to lean more towards the juvenile side, and yeah, I think some platforms aren't as bad as others, right? But I like it when that's the what we've got here is better, right? What Ready Player Me has kind of created is better. Oh, hey, how you guys doing? Good to see you. So, yeah, basically, what I want to talk to you guys about today really is just some spitballing of ideas, and in the room, we've got a number of people who create avatars, and some who are in Australia and couldn't make the event, but maybe they can catch us on the live stream, or maybe they've shared some thoughts with some of you as well. But not to worry, we can figure that out. Yeah, I'm just going to sort of put it out there. Who of you who has maybe played with the Ready Player Me system before? Who wants to jump in and tell me what their biggest gripe is? What grinds their gears? Oh, Peroxide's jumping. Anyone, go ahead. You
Oh
all
yeah.
just love it? It's perfect.
Nope.
Nope. Jump. I don't know.
Well,
Talk
okay,
somebody over.
so
You
I
don't,
think
you don't have to move.
the main thing for me, right, is
Yes.
considering it's an armature, you got joints and everything, you got bones. You want the bones to be aligned properly. And the fact
Okay.
that they're not aligned properly, like the finger joints and the eye, bones are
Yes.
not the same distance center. So that kind of thing, getting that right, I think is at least the most important thing.
Gotcha.
For yeah, that's my
I,
biggest gripe with it.
gotcha. I should also point out, right? I'm definitely nowhere near a professional when it comes to this, and I have a very basic understanding of some of these concepts. So at some point, I'm going to defer to Aline to help explain mostly for me what some of the things we're talking about are. But if I understand, I'll take a shot, right? So in terms of what Peroxide is saying here, I think the problem is that we have an armature, a rig that's applied at runtime, which doesn't use the rig that's inside your model. And for that reason,
Yep.
the eyes are in a fixed position. There's no option to be able to kind of move them. We'd actually talked about this, and we had thought that it's probably better that we move away from the eye bones entirely and maybe just rely on something like the
Shakies.
blend shapes and stuff like that. That those might prove to be more interesting. I mean, I wonder what your thoughts are on that, just specifically for the eye bones.
No, I guess that could work. Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't work.
So the Ready Player Me rigs that are there. There's a new one. So there's actually two, but the existing one is a 67 bone rig, which is basically, as far as I understand it, identical to the Mixamo rig, except for there's two additional bones, which are the eye bones. So we'd actually thought about it internally that maybe it's an opportunity to remove the eye bones and also get compatibility with one of the most common rig formats that's out there, which is the Mixamo rigs. So that was another potential reason why we could get rid of the eye bones. I'm interested to know, in terms of the hands, how do you mean when you say they're not aligned? You just mean the bones are all crazy
what I mean is
all over the place?
yeah, they're the way that they've aligned the bones, especially the rotation of them. So where the z-axis is pointing in terms of usually the z-axis points kind of inwards towards the palm of your hand.
Right.
And some of them are kind of misaligned, so they are a bit wonky. They point a bit outside of that direction. So it makes them look
Gotcha.
a bit weird when you get them in here.
Have you seen the new 81 bone rig that they have?
No, I haven't tested it yet. I've seen it, but I haven't tested it.
What they seem to have in that case is bones that point upwards out of
Oh,
the
the
hand.
twist, yeah, twisting, or the what's it called? Twist bones?
Is that what it is? I mean, I know they've got
think
additional
so.
bones in the forearm and in the upper arm, and I thought those additional
No,
ones were for twist. Sorry,
the
go ahead,
twist
Aline.
bones are different.
Oh, okay.
Let me import
Well,
currently
Aline's
the
got
new
control of the
rig.
screen as well, so this is handy. Aline can
Yeah, that helps.
show us everything. It's funny you say about the alignment, though, because when digging in even on the new rig, there's some strange stuff going on. Some of the parts that you would just expect to be lined up aren't. And sometimes things aren't
Yeah, the problem with that
parented in
is
a way you'd expect.
once you bind the skin to it, it'll warp it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So you have to actually
Oh.
pre-warp the skin in
wait.
order for it to align. So that's the issue with that.
Yeah. Dead, I'm told you're going to pass on any feedback that FireAt will have. But this is a live streamed event in any case, so he can catch up later if he wants. Maybe we can do an Australian version of this at some point in the next few weeks as well. Faye, we can try and do it a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Is the hip bone removed? No.
Okay. So you see the old system. Actually, let me turn on the bone angles. If I find it. Axis. Here we have it. So in the old system, as Prox already said, we have set pointing inwards. And in the new system, we
There's
have
a lot
set
of people in another
pointing
instance that can't hear you.
downwards.
Mm.
Oh, we have so many people.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay, I make up for myself. So Yeah, you have on the old rig the z-axis of the finger bones was pointing inwards to the palm, as Brox already said, and on the new rig, it's pointing towards the next segment of the hand, of the finger, not the hand. And they also added one bone more for each finger. So instead having just the hand bone and then the knuckles, they went with another bone for each finger that's inside the palm, which is actually behind the actually palm bone. And here, just porting your old avatars will completely mess up the fingers since they rotated the axis.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it. That's the old system, that's the new system, and this is the system Mixamo uses. Let me also turn on the axis. So here on the Mixamo one, you also have Z pointing inwards the palm. And also Mixamo uses a T pose instead of those relaxed A pose.
Yeah, I don't know what any of you guys think, especially some of you who've already created avatars. But what is the what is the prospect of having to re-rig your hands to be able to convert from one to the other? That seems like potentially a lot of work that you would have to do for each avatar. Is that right?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you do have to redo it as far as I know, unless you can somehow convert. I don't think you can convert the axes in any way. I don't think. But,
I mean, was there something about your alignment script that was able to somehow get it pretty close, even though the bones were rotated? Am I right in saying that?
No, not really. The alignment script actually has to be redone.
Gotcha.
Because it can't find because that alignment script was pretty much hard coded for the correct bone structure, which now is completely different.
Gotcha.
Your sound's gone from the second instance.
Yes. Yes, it should. Mine should be back now, I think, right? Yeah, we're nearly at 40 people in here. Good to see you all. But yeah, I mean, okay. What's that? Sorry.
I said, what did those of us that loaded into the second instance miss?
Well, okay, yeah, absolutely. I can do a quick intro for anybody who's joined us late. This event is for us to just have an open discussion about the possibilities of what kind of features we could include in a new avatar system that we're planning to build. Yeah, we were just talking about some of the changes that are going on currently in Ready Player Me and how those changes are going to affect, creating avatars. And yeah, whether those are, I guess, good things in general, bad things in general, it's hard to know. Yeah, I mean, as Aline was just pointing out there, there's a lot that's going to be different between these rigs. It seems that Ready Player Me is moving away from what appeared to be a Mixamo rig that they started with, and now moving on to this new rig. Yeah, what I think, what we've observed anyway by experimenting with the new rig is that a lot of the twist bones are supposed to kind of solve this problem for you, where my hand turns into something that shouldn't be possible, right? But you shouldn't normally be able to do that, I guess, with your hand anyway. But I can just twist my controller around. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. We also observed similar things on the 81 bone rig, and it kind of leads us to believe that there's more onus on us to resolve that within the IK system and controlling the amount of twist of the hand there. And that maybe, yeah, you can twist your hand around, but possibly at a certain point it'll stop and won't let you go any further or something. I don't know. It seems like both of those things need to be potentially addressed in order to ensure that you don't end up with this strange twisting in the wrist. And that's, like I say, my limited understanding of the problem. After talking about it internally, we thought that the T pose was probably going to be a better pose. Now, this is actually a bit controversial, right? When it comes to what people believe is the better pose. The truth is the A pose is better. And the reason it's better is because it's more relaxed, which means it's easier to rig your avatar to it and then not have to worry about stretching of the mesh later. The T pose, on the other hand, is a more extreme pose. So it means that you're weight painting in a more extreme pose, and when you go back to normal, there might be some stretching in a more normal pose. But the truth is, we believe this is really only important for much higher end games like AAA titles, right? And from my understanding, from what Aline told me the other day, basically, depending on whether an animated character might typically have their hands up a lot, might tell you whether you want to use a T pose, or if they might typically have their hands down a lot, then maybe you might want to use an A pose. Sorry, I'm just going to plug a charger in real quick. But yeah, so I mean, we think that the T pose is better because it's easier to weight paint. It's much easier. If you want to come at things from an orthographic view, you're not having to work from any strange angles. And that having the hands out straight with the hands flat on either side will just make things a whole lot easier. We also think it's better because it's going to be more compatible with stuff that people are putting through Mixamo, right? For anybody who's not familiar with Mixamo, Mixamo.com, it's a automated cloud-based avatar rigging system that was acquired by Adobe a number of years ago, and they've just basically left it there ever since. But it's basically the go-to place to get started with rigging, as far as I know. You'd start with a Mixamo and then fix from there.
I know Mixamo
Kurt.
worked with the.
Hey,
I know. Sorry.
I was in the other instance.
Cool.
I know Mixamo worked with another program called Fuse back before Adobe bought that, when Fuse was more on Steam and used some of the Team Fortress 2 characters, and they recommended Mixamo to rig them for like Source Filmmaker and things like that.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like more interoperability, more compatibility makes sense. Something I should probably explain from the research that we've done, it's not quite easy to load up and create an avatar rig within the Unity engine at runtime. If anybody's ever imported an FBX into Unity, you'll find that included within it is the avatar rig. That'll be set usually on your animator, and yeah, that's what's used inside of Banter as well. But instead of actually using an avatar rig from the model, there's some avatar rigs that are pre-included with the build. There's basically a masculine and a feminine one. These are Ready Player Me's default avatar rigs, and those then get applied at runtime, but they're included at build time. So from our experimenting so far, it seems like the best way forward is for us to include a larger set of these rigs inside the build and to try to work with those. So the plan is to include the current set that Ready Player Me offer, which is the 67 bone set, to possibly also include the new set, the 81 bone set, if people want to work with those, but also to include our own new default set, which would be the recommended set, right? Whereas these other ones would be more kind of legacy support for other types of rigs. Now, I'm not really too sure if it's possible. There's some other complications around physics when it comes to generally the size and shape of your character. But if there were a possibility to include other rig types that might allow for different shapes of character, then that's definitely something that we can look into. But I think the default should be for us to try and find something that can work consistently, and is going to be as generic as possible, and not run into problems where things don't line up, right? And I guess that's never really going to be fully possible. But yeah, I think for us anyway, we're open to exploring this and seeing what is possible, what can we achieve, and yeah, we can experiment along with this together. Now, why don't we talk about something a little bit more fun? So I had some ideas about how maybe the new avatar system could work in game. Now, as far as how Ready Player Me works today, and being able to load it up inside the in-game browser and create an avatar and have it selected, I think that can all still work exactly the same as it is, right? But I think for us, having an integrated avatar selection system will serve as something that we can guarantee is going to be a lot more reliable than something that Ready Player Me can provide. And so far, we've been thinking about doing it something kind of like how VR chat does, where you can create avatars and then you can basically place those avatars inside worlds and allow people to kind of discover them in that way. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that or any other ideas as to how that might be better. Kind of moving away from us having like this built-in, you pick all the accessories and you set up your avatar, to more of you go and you find all the other custom avatars that are in the world. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
I like it.
That sounds
I like
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on
Brilliant
it.
idea.
That's a good idea.
Yes, a very good idea.
Love a good
I
Right.
think
So like a
I
wardrobe.
think we also need, yeah, and I think we also need an option to actually share your current avatar. So for example, when I go now to Kurt and say, hey, that's a nice avatar, I want to be like you, and then you can just clone yourself, your avatar, and
Cool.
I can just put it on.
Okay.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
That's one thing they have in VR chat, where if
Yep.
somebody allows cloning, they can let somebody clone them.
That's interesting, right? So in VR chat, let's dig into this a little bit. So there's an ownership model. If you've uploaded the avatar, you get the option to decide whether it's is it public or private in effect, and that defines whether or not people can clone it. Maybe there's also a public or private level for the person who's wearing it as well. Maybe they get a chance.
Yeah,
I'm
there
not
is.
sure.
Yeah,
Right.
you
There is.
can
There's a-
you
there's a
can
toggle
choose
so you
whether
can
you
change
want to
off.
allow cloning or not.
Yeah, you
In
just
game.
turn it on. Or...
Yeah, I mean, I think something like that could work. There's no reason why not. If you've got a world full of avatars that you can just walk around and interact with, then each and every person is kind of a walking, talking avatar demonstration that you could select from too. Here's a question. This is a difficult one, and honestly, could be a rabbit hole. But I think there's there's definitely a need for people to have something unique, right? And to be able to have something that they can have that they know that other people don't have, in a nutshell. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
There we go.
You mean
Finally.
like
Yeah, I like being
pay
unique.
Yeah, yeah,
for it?
totally agree with that one.
Yeah, it's a fair statement. Yeah.
Well,
I've
I
been
mean,
trying to ask
I'm
a
not sure.
question, but I've been in the wrong
The-
instance, so you can hear me the whole time.
Oh, gotcha.
Please.
Yeah, a lot of people in the other instance can't hear you guys. I don't know if it's still like that or not.
No, they can't
I know
hear
they
me
can
either
hear us
because I've
just
been
fine.
trying to ask. Yeah, we
Can
can
they
hear. We
now?
can hear them, but they can't hear us
Okay,
because I've been
alright.
trying to ask a question since the whole bone thingy, but I couldn't because no one can move me over.
Okay, if you'd like to go ahead, what's your question?
My question about the bone thingy, when you said that A pose was better, I was wondering if T pose would be better because it's more extreme, so you're catching edge cases.
Well, that's interesting, right? So I think we did pretty much address that the A pose is more relaxed, closer to normal, so that is better, that the final result doesn't have more stretching in it, but that the T pose offers a better opportunity to be able
catch
to
edge
rig
cases,
it
yeah.
easier and weight paint it easier. I don't think it's necessarily beneficial to be able to have the pose be massively extreme. In fact, that might actually, like, you could have your hands straight up in the air, right, or something like that. But I think that that might actually be worse when it comes to the result of the weight painting and how that's going to behave whenever you start to move your rounds. So I mean, generally, a pose is better, but it's harder to work with, and it really depends on how good you need it to be, I think. And I think we've reserved ourselves internally that, you know, we're not doing AAA here, so T-pose should be fine. Let's make our lives easier. If you guys think that
Makes
that's a good
sense.
idea too, then, you know, we can. It can be just generally easier to pose things, and, you know, for some people, maybe it could be just as easy as, let me just throw some objects together in Blender and then throw an FBX at the Mixamo website and boom, it's rigged, right? You know, it's that's it never goes as well as that. And, you know, I think in a lot of cases people would want to clean that up afterwards. But for some people, maybe that'll be enough, and they'll be able to get cool, weird avatars that, you know, that they like. And that opens up more capability because people can now create custom avatars uh, in a lot of ways. You know, possibly not even needing to use tools like Blender. You could create them in anything. You could probably create them in Unity in that case if you wanted to as well.
Yeah,
As long as you
well,
just had all the pieces in place and you could line it up whenever you scan it into Mixamo. And
That's
yeah, Dead
something
Set is a nice example of that.
I've been wondering about the whole thing about the avatar selector thing too, because you said that you were asking about questions for avatar selector, and then you were talking about like creating avatars. But in a lot of like when I worked in game development a few years ago, and in my university too, we talk about a lot about like when you want to relate, like let's say you have a survival game and you want to replace the different type of clothing or armor, you just have the same skeleton rig. And then you rig like let's say a armor set to that skeleton rig, and then you can just drop it onto the character in Unity, and it will just be perfectly rigged and like weight painted to that character because it's already made for that specific rig.
Yes.
If it makes sense. So if you could do that with like a avatar selector system, so you could like, technically like, I like your T-shirt, can I get that T-shirt, instead of getting like, I like that avatar, can I get that avatar?
Yeah.
That would be kind of sick, but at the same time, then you
Then
would
your
have to
body would
have,
to
you know,
match, right?
exactly, yeah, exactly.
So
So that's the only issue I've been seeing.
That's an interesting thing. Does anybody see my elbow stick out through my hoodie? Is that a thing? Does anybody see that?
Yeah,
Seen
yeah.
that at all?
yeah, I see that.
So the
So you have to
problem that
replace the
we
arms
see,
too, yeah.
yeah, the problem that we see, or we have seen with Ready Player Me's attempt to provide that, you know, build your own avatar, accessories, that whole sort of thing, is that, yeah, it's very generic, and as a result, it often ends up making mistakes, unnecessary geometry. And yeah, I think there's also the problem that combining meshes in different combinations like that, I feel like it still always ends up looking very generic. You know, unless you've
Yeah.
got a huge number of combinations, which becomes a massive thing to maintain in terms of having compatibility with all of those. Then, and then, yeah, you know, you have a base model, let's say, for the avatar, and then you start to put clothing and accessories on top. You always end up with unnecessary geometry. For us anyway, that is a very complicated pipeline to have to build, because what's important for Banter is first and foremost is performance. And right now, for each and every one of you, your own local avatar is made up of multiple parts, but every other person's avatar in the room has been condensed down into a single object with a single texture and a single material. And that in itself means that, you know, you're a lot more optimized, and a system like that that can then combine all of these accessories in together, honestly, is pretty difficult. That's what Ready Player Me has created with their platform, and I think with what we're talking about now, we're probably going to move away from that more generic make your own avatar into a kind of a, this is a custom avatar platform now, and people can create avatars on Ready Player Me and bring them in and parade them around inside of Banter, or, you know, like I said before, people could still use Ready Player Me, access it in the same way that you do today, to get that best of both worlds experience where you can have
So it's gonna be like
uh,
VR chats, basically, where you have like the option to use Ready Player Me avatars, but there's more focus on custom avatars.
yes.
Okay,
That's I think
gotcha,
what we're getting to more towards, because honestly, I don't know. I feel like people who are really interested in avatars, they tend to get more interested in a fully custom avatar. I see a lot of people have their hands up. This is just a conversation. You can just speak. You don't need to go ahead, Cyrus.
Yeah, I've been screwing around with the AI generator. Like, I made this outfit just a couple minutes ago before I came in
Awesome.
here.
Yeah.
It works pretty well. Like, it got the Louis Vuitton pattern down pretty good.
Oh boy. There we go. That's
But yeah,
There's no
that's
IP
what AI is
issues.
great
with
for.
that.
I
Yes,
see
no,
it's
no,
copyright
that's
claims.
that's
Banter
totally
taken
To
down
nobody.
me,
by
it
Louis
looks
Vuitton.
like
Nobody
Well,
can
you
to me,
didn't
it
sell
looks
it.
like
anything made
if
by
Fallout
AI,
was
so
red and
As long as you
brown
didn't sell it.
based.
Totally.
it goes both ways.
Banter goes down, taken down by Louis Vuitton.
hey, if Louis Vuitton's getting
Well, I
taken
think
down,
this is probably
Zeffy's already
more
made the
upstream
avatar.
than Banter. This is Ready Player Me. That's their AI
Oh yeah,
generation
true.
system,
Yeah.
not
To
ours.
me, it
So,
looks like
Zeffy
a
made it
Fallout,
first.
outfit.
um,
Looks like Fallout to me.
well, I mean, to sort of stay on topic a little bit, right? So I think that kind of AI generation that exists in Ready Player Me would still exist. You'd still be able to use that to generate cool
Yeah,
stuff
I've
and
been
then
screwing around with
pull them
it
into Banter.
for today.
But there's also a possibility that we could explore our own AI-powered workflows that can allow you to do stuff in-house, not necessarily with Ready Player Me. I honestly don't know what form that could take, but it could take the form of automatically generating textures for your avatars. I don't know. Maybe Aline, you could speak a little bit more to that if you've got any thoughts.
Yeah, so there's already a plugin for Blender to use Stable Diffusion with all the control net stuff. So it takes the pose and also the depth and the normals of your avatar into account. And then all you have to do actually is you render different views of your avatar and then project them onto the mesh.
Yeah, the dream texture one.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, yeah.
you can already do this. And yeah, maybe we look into it, making it easier, making it more specific for avatars, making it just a one-click solution. That could be something.
I think that like my texture workflow when it comes to AI textures in Blender has always been like taking out the texture afterwards and then using something called Materialize, which is a tool like it was made by I think it was made for Just Cause 3 to generate textures from pictures. So you can take the texture out and then use normalize to get normal maps and height maps and material maps. It's a very like quick and dirty technique, but I love how fast it goes.
The person whose hand I'm holding wins the quest 3.
No way.
Who's that?
Holy shit.
Who won?
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh my god, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank
Get off
you.
the profile.
Oh, thanks, guys.
If I challenge you with a bunch of questions, I would win it, but it didn't work. I'm leaving. Okay.
It's Vincent, right? It's Vincent.
Yeah, he's got a job now. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, that's what it looks like, Vincent. Oh man, that's you're
Oh,
not
the
Vincent?
character.
Oh,
Can I
yes,
just
that's
get
what
a
it looks
side
like.
quest?
It's Vincent.
I couldn't get a quest. Can I get a
Wait.
side quest now?
Yeah, can I get a side
Side
quest?
quest?
No, he said I can't. I didn't get a quest. Can I get a side quest now? And I was like, oh my god. Then.
You sure? Yeah.
This is my side quest, not my side
all
chick
the other
anymore.
worlds,
This is my side chick.
explore them, and then return here for further instructions. And that is your side quest. Boom. Let's go.
Oh, that's my side quest.
Hey Shane, can I ask you a question?
What's that?
Did you say the robot avatars are going to change? The default ones that we come in with?
Yes, in fact, they're going to change into this little bad one over here, or something similar, right? is going to be our new guest avatar.
Oh my God, a dead Zed.
And its simplicity is honestly what makes it, so interesting. So yeah, we've been working with Dead Zed for a little while now, and when this avatar overhaul occurs, our current ball-based avatar is going to be replaced with something like this, which we think is great fun. So
Nice.
Cool.
yeah, kudos to Dead Zed for coming up.
Has anybody told Bavu?
But I'm wondering about you talked about the overhaul. You talked about an
What?
overhaul for.
Oh, Babu! Oh no, not Babu! Please. Yeah. Okay. Somebody needs to. We'll release the models for the current guest. Somebody can figure out how to put it onto Ready Player Me or something else, right? Maybe the new avatar system could
I'll work on it.
allow for it.
Oh, I got it.
Cool.
I have a question regarding the new avatar system, actually.
Okay, yeah.
When it comes to the new avatar system, we're talking about just adding more bones, having maybe fist bones or something in there. First of all, for the physics. Sorry, physics. I'm just talking about the physics bones add-on for Unity.
Yes.
It's just, don't mind me.
Potentially.
But
No, absolutely. I mean, this is basically what we're talking about right now, because obviously to date we've been pretty limited in terms of what we can do. The available blend shapes that you can use are limited and restricted, and we basically want to talk about exactly that. Like, what are the things that people want the most? What are they going to want the most from an avatar system? And then we have to kind of try and find a way, if we can, to deliver those, hopefully in a performant way or in a progressive way that can, scale those accordingly, right? And
but is there any chance of sitting down animation styles at all? Because that's what I am most excited about if it comes, because I've been talking about it for a long time. I've been complaining about it. Don't worry. I want to walk normally. I want to walk cool. I can't add animations. I want to add my own animations so I can walk. I'm a bad boy. You can obviously see that with my so I need to walk like a bad boy, I want to have the gangster. I want to have that pimp, the pimp tilt, when I'm walking. Oof, I can't really do that in Banter right now.
Right, I see. I don't know. I've seen some pretty cool walks in here. Has anybody seen Eamon's latest study? He's got this thing where he does kind of a hop, and it's like he's just bouncing as he walks.
Man said, "I want that pimp walk."
I can't do it.
Yeah, I want
He
that
does it
pimp tilt, can't.
Yeah, I mean the potential is definitely there. I'm not too sure what form it could take, whether it's something like baked in animations into your character or it's more expression type animations, right? So things that you can spawn and have your character do. Yeah, I mean those are, I guess, two different things that if we're comparing to VR chat, I feel like we're comparing to VR chat a little bit. Those are two different things I guess you can do over there. I mean, I guess there's every possibility.
Hey. No, I mean, I'm thinking more about the fact that in general animations would be cool, because for example, I'm not trying to compare it to VR chat, but I mean I have issues. I feel like, for example, when I'm let's say my girlfriend wants to get in VR, and she wants to get close to me. We want to sit down together and then maybe watch a movie, and I'm crumpled right now into whatever looks like a shell fish or something. So it's kind of weird, you don't get that in team. You can't talk. I can talk to someone. It's a social platform, I understand that, but we can't really cuddle or do anything like that, and especially with the colliders too on top of that. But that's more another option, not avatars. But I mean, it would be nice to have sitting animations where I can sit down, or sitting poses.
I hate those.
Being able to have my own animation controllers. If you get what I mean?
Sure. I mean, first of all, let me just say, comparing to VR chat isn't necessarily a bad thing here, right? That's pretty much VR chat's game. They're the avatars, right? That's pretty much what it's mostly about in VR chat. So obviously a lot of time and energy has gone into perfecting a system like that. So I think it's good to consider that when we consider what we want to do too. And I think, I mean, I get what you're saying.
I'm just trying to say not ERPing. That's what I was. I was trying to I'm not talking about trying to ERP here. I'm just talking about cuddling in general. Okay, don't get any ideas.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, look, I'll tell you what.
We
Let's keep it civil, and maybe we can hear from some other people in the meantime, if you don't mind, John.
yeah.
Thank you very much. So yeah, we've talked about potential for animations and expressions. Razor, go ahead. You can just talk. You don't need to stick your
Oh,
hand up.
I was gonna add to that. Like, would there be a way to just turn off colliders? Like, just an option? That would be
Yeah, I mean it's interesting.
a great idea. Because then, then you could do all that
Yeah, I
hugs
mean
and
that's
stuff.
definitely an option that we could have. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Um,
Gotta be
I
a friend
think
first.
Oh,
I
maybe.
think
I don't know.
I think there was a plan to build out somewhat of a safety system, right? That would allow you to
Yep.
do something along those lines too, anyway, right? So that if you wanted, you could, not get pushed around if people wanted you to push, wanted to push you around. So that's part of that.
Yeah.
We've already been working on something that works like uh, a typical safety bubble where people get too close to you, they start to disappear. It's quite an interesting effect that Aline has created. It's something similar to how our avatars spawn in and out of the worlds whenever those animations run. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's something that we could do, and then yeah, you could leverage that part of that safety system to turn colliders off so that you could get closer to people. And one thing that we've considered as part of that safety system is the ability to treat your friends differently from other people in some way, right? Whether that's you apply it more to other people, or you only allow your friends to have your colliders off. I'm not sure, right? These are the questions we need to answer as we kind of build this out. But yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Yeah, here's something interesting. I guess we've only really got 2 people, 3 people, 4 people in the room who have wings, but I feel like a lot that there is people who like to put wings on their avatar a lot. I mean, what do you guys think? Is that a thing, or is that
Yeah, I
mostly
would
just
be
for
upset if I couldn't have my
Attachments, yeah.
wings, to be honest.
Same.
Or capes.
Big same.
Well, capes are interesting, and I think you
Capes
could do
would be
those. But cloth physics gets pretty costly, especially on standalone devices. So trying to figure that out is
Yeah,
going
that's
to
the
be a
problem,
challenge, but not something that I would necessarily rule out. But I think wings are interesting specifically because we're planning on implementing native flight mechanics into the game, and having wings as a kind of a first party accessory, let's say, could be justifiable in that case because it could serve an actual function, right? In the future, maybe you actually flap those wings as part of a flight
What
mechanic.
about jetpacks?
So, well, that's actually another flight mechanic we've been looking at. So flapping isn't necessarily the only thing. Yeah, there's multiple flight mechanics we're looking at there. But yeah, I mean, I think potentially if we were to create a system where you could have multiple pieces as part of your avatar, wings would probably be one of the things I would think would be worthwhile to give an exception to over other things, let's say, right? The reason I say this is generally because each avatar, each object, it produces 2 draw calls, right? So every single object is 2 draw calls, one for the mesh, one for the material. And if we've got multiple objects per person, that can double or triple or quadruple, let's say, the number of draw calls that avatars take. Avatars are always one of the largest sources of performance drain, let's say, or yeah. So trying to find ways to optimize those is always really a smart place to operate. I think it's worth talking about what format these new avatars should take. Obviously, there's lots of options. Talking about VR chat, for instance, their workflow is Unity based, right? So there's a huge amount of power and control that you've got there. You can throw particles onto your avatar. You can put custom shaders onto your avatar. You can really do whatever you want. Wow, I realize we've been yammering on for 45 minutes. I think the GLB format is probably a good way to go because it provides us with a certain level of protection, let's say, right? In that we can use we can create workflows pretty easily to validate those GLBs outside of the client. Uh, and we can extend those to add our own capability, our own functionality, let's say, without having to open the floodgates to all of those different things that you can do within Unity. And the reason I think that that's important is because if you can do all of those things you can do in Unity, very quickly performance becomes a real issue because um, I mean, let's lay it out there. We all want our avatars to look great. We want them to look as great as they can look, and we want everybody else to see them as looking great. But each and every one of us is walking around with that mentality, and there's actually a conflict of interest there, in that everybody wants their avatar to look fantastic. So that's the VR chat problem, I guess, in some ways, is that you can walk into a room and somebody's avatar might have more polys than the room itself. And it's very easy to leverage all those tools to create crasher avatars, right? And yeah, that's obviously a big problem. We don't want to end up in a
Yes, we don't
scenario
want
where
that.
you can't go to public rooms, or you can't go to events, or events have to be, or worlds and events have no idea what kind of overhead they're going to have to deal with in the wild, and can never really test for what it's going to be like to have all these crazy avatars in the room. But go ahead, Tokra. You
Yeah,
got some thoughts?
I want to say something.
Yeah.
There's 2 points. So one of them is since we're not going like for a Unity package as an avatar, with animators and all of that, so GLB instead. I would suggest, I think I already said that, yeah, the gestures, right? So we can have like blend shapes that matches gestures, specific gestures, like all kind of gestures. Just do the blend shape and it matches automatically with that gesture, and you can like have that blend shape animate your avatar. That's gonna be like
Interesting.
not a costly one, I think, as a performance, I guess.
Agree.
And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, that would be like a very interesting thing to have. And about the avatar system means yeah, the private one and public ones, but there's an interesting thing that we can have like spawn avatar. So I can just come in and spawn an avatar in front of you, and you just walk into it like, Iron Man, just and you become it, and you take it.
Interesting. Right, interesting. So that's kind of like what Aline was saying, where you can clone someone else's. Maybe it's that spawn action that lets that happen, and maybe we take one of those
Yeah.
mad avatar recordings I've built in there, and we just put it onto your avatar so it jumps around. You have to chase it to get it.
Yeah, that's interesting. You can spawn it with a recording, or you can just have them in Avatar World, and everyone can just wear them instantly, and they still remain there. So it's like when I spawn an avatar, it's only one usage for one person, but when it's like there in an Avatar World, it's gonna be there forever, and people
Like
just
portals.
walk into it. Because I think when you already loaded it, it's easy to just dress it up, right? It's already there. It's loaded in front of you, so you already have it actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In the case of a persistent one, you might have to clone objects instantiate off of the
Yeah.
original. But if it's a transient one, yeah, you've loaded it now. Just apply it to the person that triggers it, I guess. So yeah, you're definitely right. Sorry, did I hear somebody over here, John? Did you have another thought?
No, just saying that sounds like Neos. Because in Neos, you used to be able to just pull out an avatar from your inventory and then put it down in front of you, and it would be
Yes.
like a floppy skeleton thing you could just give to someone. And they could take it and then put it into their inventory.
That's very interesting. Yes. Neos is an interesting platform. It's unfortunate. I think recently when I checked, I think most people have now migrated over to Resonite, which is, I guess, the
Resonate.
Is the new
I
iteration
thought
of that.
Neo's completely shut down.
Yeah,
it's now Resonate.
Has it actually shut down? I didn't realize it
I
had
think it's shut
completely
down.
shut down, but I know the
Yeah.
concurrent users have gone to zero basically. So that's unfortunate.
I
But there's
think-
so many
I
cool
think
things on
even
Neos. That's
Neos
for sure.
as a company
Really cool stuff.
dissolved, I think.
Right.
I think their website is still up, but like I don't think the platform is actually up anymore.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately.
Makes
But,
sense.
no, yeah, Neos was a sick platform enough the whole like inventory system. and all of the stuff
Yeah.
you could do in the game, but
Until the crypto bros came and
crypto bros
trashed it.
Yeah.
But
I think if we're going to be using the GLB format, I think we
Yes.
should at least be able to use the material properties, so like roughness, shininess, like metalness, because right now
Very
the
good
colors
point.
are pretty flat.
This is a very good point.
Unlike
Yeah,
normals.
we've been
Still
thinking
worried
about
about
this
performance.
internally. Well, I mean, that's not to say that we can't create optimized versions of these shaders. One of the biggest problems we see with GLB, and in fact, when we were re-implementing GLB in the new SDK, including enough shader variants to cover off all of the possible GLB properties, increased our build size 5x, basically, to include 2 extra shaders in the build. Now, that sounds worse than it is. Our build size right now on Quest is about 109 megabytes. Literally, that's as big as the build is. But yeah, that went up over 500 megabytes to include the GLB shaders. And let's just say that was never going to slide. Aline was never going to let me away with increasing the build size that much. But what we can do is do specific shader variants to cover off the stuff that we need. That's what we're already doing when it comes to Ready Player Me. But we can absolutely go further than that. Maybe there's more than we can provide beyond just PBR shaders. Maybe there's tune shaders, and we can expose that as part of an extension within GLB, that you could have additional shader properties, let's say, that aren't necessarily available typically in the PBR shaders. But this is exactly the sort of thing that we want to do. And maybe we can have some optimized variants or versions of the PBR shaders that we use ourselves, so that we can do this without having to sacrifice performance, right? So I definitely agree. There's something we can do there for sure. So I think that's a great point.
I want to add something Tokra said about the shape keys. So currently shape keys are only used to open the mouth when you speak and to blink with your eyes. And we were thinking we can actually allow people to do more custom actions. For example, you have a shape key that will say
No.
Oh,
Lost her.
The what?
Oh,
We lost her.
We never know. We'll never know.
Oh, she's gone.
Aline disconnected.
She's frozen.
We'll never know now.
Oh God. Yes, that's
We'll
it.
never know.
That's it.
And she reappeared right in front of me while she was over there too. So that's weird.
Ghost.
That is so weird. It's like a glitch in the Matrix.
By the way, Shane,
That's it. That's it.
you have some people in the other instance trying to ask questions. They're
Gotcha.
all talking to themselves.
Maybe Faye, I don't know if you'd be able to jump into the other instance and you can megaphone some people. I could try to answer their questions. Sorry, Aline, what were you saying? Thank you.
Yeah, so the idea is to actually have a few yes. Okay.
I got you.
Wait.
Oh no.
Oh no. you unmegaphoned me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, to just have some idle animations. For example, you want your ears to flap around, if that's what you want. Then we can just have a shape key that's just where you have different animation modes, like just a simple looping animation for the shape key, or a ping pong animation, and maybe just some random, like for the eyes, you want that the eyes just looking in random direction, so you just define the minimum as your default and the maximum as your 100% shape key, and then it will just randomly jumps in specific segments between the shape key values. So those were things we thought how you could just have more expression. And I mean, it would also be cool if we just have specific shape keys that are getting triggered when you doing different actions. So for example, when you press grip button or trigger, or even when you jump, that's then a different shape key is getting played and then reverted back.
Now that's interesting because that's kind of to John's point about like custom animations, custom poses,
Yeah.
shape keys, and also about I can't remember whose comment it was about capes, but there's a possibility to have like a cape animation, a fake. I mean, I don't know, I don't understand, but if it's possible to do what feels like a cloth animation within a blend shape, is that
Where's
crazy?
Shane at?
This is going to be difficult, but
Yeah.
especially with the wings, and we are also thinking about obviously cat ears and tails to have option actually for dynamic bones, which
Gotcha.
obviously will only work on the lowest LOD. So with the new avatar overhaul, there will be a completely new LOD system. So all the 2D cutouts will be history. We are going to get rid of them. No more 2D avatars staring into your soul. But yeah, the main focus is that we just have a much finer iteration that we. Yeah, the main problem currently is that just Ready Player Me's LOD system is absolute garbage. That's why we don't really use it, because even their lowest version is still way too high. So we try to build a pipeline that will just decimate the avatars for the lowest LOD automatically. And this should also open up possibilities to have PBR shaders for everyone that's on the lowest LOD that is closest, or also priority based on friends, for example, that your friends will always show in a higher LOD as anyone else. And then it's,
Sorry,
yeah.
Faye.
Yeah.
Faye, you wanted to megaphone someone. Someone's got a question. Divine Slayer. Apologies.
Everybody actually can't hear you, Shane. You've been not megaphoned.
Oh my
Hello.
god,
Yeah, I
I
was
can
about to
finally
say.
hear you.
Megaphone
Can you
has
hear
stopped
me now,
working in
Shane?
the other instance for you, Shane.
Gotcha. I've just re-megaphone. Maybe they can hear me now. No? Do I need to rejoin?
Can you hear me now?
You might, because you're
Yeah.
not megaphone.
Yeah, we can hear
you're
you.
not amplifying.
I think you might
Well-
need to rejoin, Shane.
Okay, rejoining now.
I'm in the other instance and I cannot see or hear you.
Gotcha.
Oh my god. I've been trying to get him to hear me for like the past 20 minutes.
Yep, we can hear and see you.
Thank you.
There. Now we can see you, Shane.
Oh, by the way, Divine.
Great. I'm
I
actually in the
joined
other
here
instance.
to
So,
help
hey guys.
get y'all's questions
Can you
answered.
hear and see
Yeah,
me
good to see you.
now?
So,
Shane?
Yes.
was it Divine that
No,
had a
'cause she's in
question,
the
or
other instance.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
I'm right here.
is she in the other instance?
Oh my god. I'm too tired for
I can see her and
this.
hear her right here. Is there any way to migrate everyone into
Yeah, no
this
problem.
instance?
Is that neat? Is that
Okay,
you
where
over
is
there?
Divine?
I'm right here.
Let's
There
see.
you are,
If
love.
we can get
I'm going to
Divine, and then
megaphone
I'll
you
come
so
to you
Shane
next.
can see you. There you go.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. So, my question isn't about the avatar yet, but can I still ask it, please? Because I'm really freaked out. What just happened to me? One of these people, where is he at? I can't remember. I don't see him. He must be in the other instance. He spawned in my lobby. Like, I was like, what? And I was actually talking to him in my lobby. I thought that was impossible.
So, yeah, I mean, everything is possible to some degree. Right now, we have custom homes. You can set any space as your home, and if you're online, absolutely, people can join you in your home space.
What? But in the default lobby?
Yes, every space is a public space now. If you're available, your friends can join you.
Oh my. Okay,
Listen,
I thought
this is kind of this is somewhat unrelated. Maybe we can follow up on this on Discord,
Yeah.
because I know we're kind of running out of time here, and I know other people
Yeah,
have got
sorry.
questions related to this event. So if we could follow up on Discord, that's where we can maybe talk about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cheers, Divine. Hold on, Barry. I've got a queue here, but I'll come to you just next. Okay, so
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay, so earlier I know you mentioned something about perhaps having it so where we can get avatars in like Banter, like similar to how they do in VR chat. You're in the other instance, so you couldn't hear us at the time, but I thought that was a really good idea because I feel like it makes it more immersive. But another question that I have is, well, an actual question that I have is, where would you recommend someone begin if they do want to start getting into creating avatars? Because it seems like a lot, but I just want to know, like, what would you recommend? Like, I start first, or like any beginner start first to like getting to know more.
That's a great question. I think right now, in Banter at least anyway, the best place to go is probably our Discord. So there's some entry level tutorials in there in the form of videos created by some of our users, starting off with just generating new textures for avatars, generating stuff with AI. Then there's also more advanced videos that shows you how to do things with Blender, how to take an avatar from, let's say, Sketchfab or somewhere online and bring it into Blender and to set it up and get it all ready to bring a fully custom avatar onto the platform as well. There's also one of our users, DeadZ, runs weekly events where he'll stream his screen and show you exactly what he's doing and show you how to get started there. But the Discord is also just great for any questions that you could have. You know, people are eager to help. And yeah, some of this stuff is tricky, so we're more than happy to try and share best practice there and save you banging your head against the wall too much. So yeah,
Great.
Discord. If you go to the Banter website, bantervr.com, the Discord link is in the top right corner, and you can join in there if you're not already in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I had people help
Yeah,
me
no
with
problem.
this avatar in
Yeah,
the
so
Discord.
Barry,
Somebody even
let me
uploaded it
megaphone
for me.
you. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a real quick one. It's probably a yes or no. Is it just a given that we're not going to talk about Horizon Worlds avatars at all?
No, I'm absolutely open to talking about Horizon Worlds. We are 2 minutes into the next event. Actually, I should point that out.
I would say we just keep it going. I think we're getting a good amount of feedback, so let's just merge those events.
Okay, there you go. The event would have happened, I think, in this space anyway, so that fits quite nicely. What are your thoughts? Have you got thoughts on?
Well, I everything about the avatars in Horizon Worlds I like, and I also like the idea of consistency across the meta platforms. Or sorry, let me try it again. The Oculus
Yes.
platforms or the
Sure.
Horizon, I mean whatever they're calling it now. So,
Yes.
in my perfect world, I would be the same avatar here as I am in Horizon Worlds because just to me that makes the most sense. Is it
Gotcha.
possible to build my avatar as it is in Horizon Worlds?
So the problem with that is that whilst the avatar system that is available on the Oculus platform as part of the Oculus platform services is something that you can use in other games and in other platforms, it is an extremely closed avatar ecosystem, right?
In other words, it
And
uses proprietary
it's completely
information.
proprietary.
Oh no.
It's gone quiet.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
I say the main problem is you can't use it outside of the Quest or on the Oculus platform. So the Steam VR version would not work with those avatars.
I actually do that's sorry, hang
Oh no.
So the problem is, right? So you've got this extremely closed ecosystem where there's only really one place you can go to customize said avatar. It is extremely locked to the Oculus platform, and even though I think you may actually be able to use their avatar SDK externally to that, it's heavily geared towards meta. You can't really bring any external elements into it. There's no option for custom avatars. Obviously, Meta has completely commercialized that whole side of things, so you have to go and buy accessories from them. And honestly, I think it plays a little bit into my earlier concerns that whilst Meta's not the worst offender out there, I think their avatars look juvenile. I think that Meta is really targeting younger people, and I feel that and this is just my own opinion, and I could absolutely be wrong, but I feel like Ready Player Me, at least anyway, offers a more generic set of avatar features that a larger group of people would be okay with than compared to the meta avatars. Like I'll say for myself, I've never ever been able to feel comfortable in whatever I can generate through meta, and that's just for me, right? I think
It's just that I started.
originally. Sure,
I think it's
sure.
just that
You'd
I
started
started
there.
there. Yeah, it's probably what the problem is.
Yeah.
I will go into Ready Player Me and see if I can fix me up to look a little bit more like what I look like, because this is, this is just,
Yeah.
this feels very
And
generic.
Ready Player
I
Me
mean,
is
this
still
this of course
evolving
is the problem
as well.
with these kind of locked-in proprietary systems, is that unless we were to integrate that whole thing into the game, you can't bring your avatar out of that ecosystem. You've no way to get that out, no legitimate way, right? There might be some
Yeah,
underground ways to be able to
Well, we've
pull it
never
out,
heard
but
about that stuff. But
exactly,
yeah,
and I don't know
for
if that
sure.
exists. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big decision to kind of be so locked in. But you know what I'd love to
for sure.
hear is, what do you like about that avatar, apart from the obvious, just being familiar with it because it's your typical
If I
digital
go,
identity?
I can tell you exactly what it is. If I walk up
Yeah.
to you in Horizon Worlds and I start
Yes.
talking to you, I feel like I'm talking to a real person. Right now, I know that you're a real person, but right now it feels like you are some kind of a painted sculpture.
Right. We see
Your
that's
movements.
difficult to quantify, because I think that is possibly just related to you being more familiar with those avatars than, let's say, these
Your
ones,
eyes aren't
because
your eyes aren't blinking. Obviously, I can't see them through the shades, which might be part of your
my
persona.
eyes are blinking, yours are blinking too,
Yeah, but
and
I
they're
don't see
moving
your
around.
eyes, you see, because you've got sunglasses on.
Okay, yeah, but I've got sunglasses on, right? That's hardly a judgment on the entire avatar system.
Look into
Sure,
my
sure,
eyes.
sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, so wink with your left eye.
But do
No,
that
you
with your
can't.
meta avatar.
Well, you
Do you
can.
have a
I
Quest
mean,
Pro?
it is
Yeah, you
possible,
would have
but
to have eye tracking.
How?
To be able to
with
Possible
with
using
the
just
Quest
a Quest
with
Pro?
the Quest
Yeah, but
Pro, yeah.
that's hardly
But
that's
That's
a
just one
hardware
headset.
function rather than a feature of the
Right,
avatar
right.
system,
I'm
right?
I'm okay, so just to be really
Yeah,
clear, I'm just trying to understand why, and I think I've got a pretty good answer now, and I'll
yeah.
work within what we're doing in Banter, because I like what's happening in Banter with everything except the avatars, and I need to work through that myself.
What I'd
So
love to know is there something tangible about that avatar system that is specific to it that we could consider here as an option for us to build in? What is it about that makes it inherently better? But I mean, the examples that you've given don't seem to relate specifically to the avatar.
right.
It's more subjective in some cases for you than that, and it's more
Could you meet
about
me?
hardware features.
Could you meet me in Horizon Worlds? Would that be possible?
Yeah, I'm sure that could be possible. Yeah,
Okay, I'll send you a DM. That would be great.
sure.
It's easier to explain it there than it is here.
Sure. It's
Okay,
been a while
thank you.
since I've been into Horizon. I'll be
Okay.
honest. I'm really
All right,
not
thanks.
fond of it as a platform, but I know a lot of
Sure,
people
I
are,
understand.
and a lot of
Yeah.
people have kind of established their digital identities there, and people want to hang on to
Well,
those. So if there's a
it's
way that we can capture that and
yeah.
include some of that, I'm definitely eager to figure that out. So
It
yeah,
it's
let's meet up
partly to
there.
do
And
with the ability to build within Horizon Worlds
of course, that has
and I know
nothing
that's
to do with
coming.
the avatar system, though,
No,
right?
no,
So
no, no. I
I want to
know,
be
but
clear. I'm just interested in discussing the avatar
okay.
system and
Let's do that
specific
there.
just to
Okay.
the avatar system, right?
All right,
Because
we'll do that
obviously there's
there.
a lot of stuff in Horizon Worlds. I don't want to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we can have a
understand.
separate conversation about world
Sure.
builders when we get to making world
Yeah,
builders. But I'm
I understand
interested.
that.
Like, if you had a point, I would love to dig in on it. That's something that is specific to the avatar system. Something
Okay.
about it, something about the accessories, something
Right.
about gestures, something about I don't know, something
All right.
literally related to the cosmetics or the behavior, maybe about the animation, the
Yep.
IK, the feet
Sure.
movement, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff would be
I
tangible
also have a
stuff that we
question.
can try to distill into some kind of
Sure.
actionable task that we can prioritize on our end,
I'll
but
send you a DM and
sure.
then I can also give you a link so you could go in on a mobile device as well or a browser. So that would work
Yeah,
too.
that sounds great. That sounds great.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Thank
Yeah,
you
let's
very
follow
much.
up to this.
Regarding
it.
that, Ready Player Me avatars are all face fully rigged and everything, so maybe it's just a thing of expression. So, like
there
in
any
Horizon,
monetary
maybe you have
involved in it, or is it
expressions.
all completely free to get into it and you can sort of do
Oh,
it?
I think he's another instance.
As in, is there any cost from us to charge people?
No,
to
is there
access
any
it?
like cost for us to make an avatar?
No. No, none that I'm aware of. None at all.
Fantastic.
I mean, your time.
Your time.
I would like
True,
to build
yeah.
on that.
That's why I
question
said
then,
monetary.
on the cost.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to ask
No,
earlier
I mean,
about the cost.
I know other platforms have got a certain tendency to
You inspired me with the jackets.
to either create like a gatekeeper around some of the creation tools, or to even charge you a subscription, calling you out, Rec Room. No, we've no plans to do any of that. I think that's a really silly business model,
Microtransactions?
because
Yeah, I can't
your
see
pool
Shane.
of creators is going to be typically a lot smaller than your
Right here.
larger pool of users. So you want to support your creators, and yeah, we're more inclined to try and get behind you and try and support what you're doing than we are to try and extract revenue out of you, because that's crazy. But no, it's a good question.
Awesome. Thank
I'm
you.
sure there are a lot of people
Now
like
I
me
can
who,
see
even
you.
though we have VR, we're dirt poor most of the time.
The one that I'm asking about, the earlier one, was the shader topic. Wouldn't it, in theory, be easier to create plugins or modifications for the shader engine to emulate different methods rather than creating different like shaders for specific types?
I'm not sure I fully understand what you mean there.
So rather than creating unique shaders for like different types of shading, could you in theory create modifications of the base shading unit that can be applied that should also save space?
I'm afraid that hasn't made it any clearer for me. I don't really know how to answer the question. Like, if you're talking about Unity and how Unity is working generally with shaders, right? You can include a massive shader variant collection with a number of shader variants in it. You can include every shader variant in the entire shader, or you can exclude a bunch if they're ones that you don't need. What you could also
Okay.
do is create your own custom shaders and use those. I mean, that's something that we could absolutely do. But I'm sorry,
Right,
I
but
just
that's
I
what,
don't understand.
yeah,
What's the
because you had mentioned before adding like different shader types and that increasing the memory size of the game by like 5 times.
Yes.
I was just asking if it would be possible to modify the core shading unit to have different types. So you can have that one shader program run a cartoony or a more pastel painting look to it through that one program to save space.
Gotcha. I guess my confusion is probably around the term shader processing unit. Is that what you called it? What specifically do you mean to
Well,
modify
the shader program or process, so like the shaders that we have, because you were talking about creating several different shaders to emulate different styles. Could you make a shader that would do the different styles?
You mean have
I have no idea.
different shaders?
Like, maybe
you
it's
can
my
set a certain
lack
shader
of understanding
to,
here on the topic, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
my-
Aline,
It could be that my
wanna take
question
that?
was insanely vague based on what was going on.
Are you maybe talking about a master shader that just can do everything and you just have
Yeah,
to
something.
set the right configuration?
Yeah,
I've got
something
an
that will
idea.
allow
You
for
wanna
different
be
like
able to
lighting
toggle the type of
effects
shaders
based
on
on a certain input rather than creating several different shaders or having a mass library of shaders that would then be used, which would take more space.
Yeah, the problem is with a master shader, this just costs more performance. So you want it
Which is fair, yeah.
simplified as possible. So that's why
Yeah.
we were thinking about just having some variants that are predefined, and then they are in itself super optimized, that no
Okay.
unnecessary stuff has to run in the background. That's not even
Okay.
needed.
Yeah, as I am newer to like the development scene and stuff like that, I figured I would ask just because that's like, even if it was like the master one to save on space, I can definitely understand like the different libraries within that master shader bogging everything down. The second question was in line with their monetary question. do you think it'd be possible to have creators, at least at some point, if they want to create maybe like a premium collection that would be run through the Banter team, being able to allow them to publish some of their works for sale?
Yeah, I mean that's another interesting question for sure. I think right now for us, focusing a lot of resource on monetization strategies, both for ourselves and for people on the platform, is less of a priority than just trying to get the platform polished and get it ready for coming
Yeah,
out of
which
beta.
makes sense. Yeah, which makes sense. And
But that's not to say that
honestly,
it's not always not going to be a priority, right? I think with us,
yeah,
this is a very open platform, and we leverage a lot of like open web technologies, which allows for all sorts of ways to potentially monetize on what you're doing. And actually, at the AMA recently, was a question that came up too, and I think us having support to integrate with platforms like Patreon. Uh, at a space level, at an avatar level, you could leverage platforms like that to be able to open up access for people to certain things. Now, I mean, we mentioned it before actually about being able to have an avatar that only you can have, that only you can access. And honestly, that's a very difficult thing to do because it's very easy to extract avatars. It's very easy to rip content. No matter what way you try to protect it,
yeah,
it's ultimately very easy to do. And that's a problem with trying to monetize stuff like that as well. Is what steps can we take in order to protect your interests, your IP, and that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean those are challenges that we need to figure out. I think before something like that could be really truly viable. Rather than a few bad actors, right? Be able to just extract and
yeah,
rip everything they want and be able to share it through whatever channels. Yeah, so I think we need to probably figure those problems out, make it if things are going to be unique and then they're going to be individual to one person,
yeah,
we need to make sure that that can actually work, right? As it stands right now,
yeah,
Ready Player Me actually has a system that is supposed to be able to achieve this, but unfortunately it's not working quite right now.
yeah.
But you're supposed to
I
be
feel like
able
with
to lock avatars and unlock them only for individuals.
yeah, and I feel like with that, because I know VR chat has an issue. There's a few big names going around with people who will actually rip avatars. I think the easiest way for them to handle that would be to, since the creators have their names on the models, stuff like that, for the re-upload, directly taking action against them would probably help them out a lot, rather than letting them sit and do what they're doing.
Yes. I mean, directly taking action is probably the best approach, I would say. But it's still a very difficult one because if you mean, banning people's accounts, creating new accounts is not a very difficult thing to do. And,
Yeah,
if I'm a perpetrator of such things, I probably don't necessarily need an account to be able to do it, right? I can just have people upload them to their own accounts, and therefore it's all decentralized. It is a really tough problem, a really tough
yeah,
thing to stop. It's like trying to solve the piracy problem, right? Which is just an
yeah,
impossible problem to solve, really. And it's much the same thing, really, right? I guess
yeah. I
in
mean,
some
it's pretty
senses.
much just down to incentive and what's incentivized by the community.
Yeah, well, I mean, the incentive there is that people love avatars and they want to have unique and cool avatars, and that's the incentive. As long as that
Yeah,
continues to be the case, then there's always going to be somebody that wants to take advantage of that fact, I think.
yeah.
I have a question.
Tell
Can you
Eileen
hear
to
me?
megaphone,
Awesome.
Eileen?
Right, Faye, maybe I'm in the other room
Are you
now. I don't
here?
know if there's anybody jumping around in the first
I
instance that has a question.
I am.
Eileen
Me!
tried megaphone.
I'll
Divine.
head back over to the first instance and check.
Yeah.
Damn, Shane,
Divine,
how you
you're
guys
in
over
that
to the
instance
other?
as well.
Divine is over here. You see me now?
Aline?
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
it looks
I
like
think
we
I
have
think
Divine
Iron Wolf
again.
is jumping since quite some time, so maybe he
Give it a
goes
minute.
first.
There we go.
Yes, thank you. I'm a little bit curious. It's not an avatar question per se, but Ready Player Me, except for Banter, which application are you using that platform?
As far as I know, there are over 8,000 platforms using Ready Player Me.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of them are crypto platforms.
Most of them are crypto platforms. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
But yeah, it's actually pretty easy now. You can sign up to Ready Player Me yourself, and you create a studio account, and then in there you can have your own portal. You can have ironwolf.readyplayer.me and have your own collections of avatars, and that's how a number of our users are creating custom avatars. And I guess for anybody here who's not familiar, yeah, you can open up the browser in game. When you go to the menu, there's a little browser button in the top right just next to the X button, and down at the bottom of that screen there's a bunch of buttons that link to community Ready Player Me portals, where you can find a bunch of custom avatars in case anybody is interested in that. There's loads of cool ones in there, right? And you can also set up your own, and it's possible to just visit it in game direct, tell people the address, they can open it up there and then real time and check out your avatars, even if they're not on that list. I think that's something that we'll always kind of want to be able to access. I think what we'll do is just make sure that we put those things through our own servers, probably cache them on our own servers so that they're always going to work. There's never any weird problems are gonna occur with them, right? But yeah. Sorry, I started to waffle there a little bit. Yeah, Faye, I saw a message from you about Megaphone. If you're having any trouble, just rejoin the room. And I see Divine, you've got another question. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not sure if this has already been said, and is this recorded so I can watch it later?
It is.
Is it? Okay. That wasn't my question. My question was, so are we moving away from Ready Player One or Ready Player Me, or are we like gonna stay with them? Like, when are we gonna be moving away if we are? I don't know.
I think for most situations, you can expect that it's going to work just the same, but we're going to build out something better that works as well and will be our recommended option. So Ready Player Me will still continue to work like
Okay.
it does today.
Okay, so Ready Player Me will still work, but we're going to be having something extra added on to it to
That's
do
right.
something different. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
And we call it Ready Player U.
Love it.
Awesome. Hey, Luke, how you doing? You got a question?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just checking I wasn't muted. Are you planning to have like a kind of web interface generating the avatars like Ready Player Me, or are you looking for more of an in-platform kind of customization?
Probably neither. We're going to leave that kind of web-based, build your own custom avatar sort of stuff to Ready Player Me, and instead we'll likely have avatar worlds in Banter that you can go and explore, and you can see fully ready created avatars that you'll be able to select from. So yeah,
No,
we don't want to try
I
and
was
create that
kind of
generic
wondering
system.
the in-game kind of modification, like say alt space, for example, where you could just go, oh, I'm going to change my head today, and just click done.
Yeah, we're probably not going to do that at all. Like I say, we'll leave that sort of
So they're
stuff
going
to
to
the
be like
likes of Ready
preset.
Player Me. They're going to be preset avatars that you can find and select and change onto. VR chat is a good example of what we're talking about there. But like I said, Ready Player Me will still continue to work, so you'll still be able to use them for that, right? I think the problem that we find is that this gargantuan system that has many variations and you can mix and match often ends up looking very generic anyway. And also is a really difficult system to optimize and make performant. So instead, we want to go with something where you can have like an all-in-one head-to-toe avatar where, it can be a lot easier to be able to consider how you need to optimize that.
Second question, if I may. Will you be releasing like a avatar creators package with like a pre-built rig, instructions, etc., so that we can generate our own meshes and bring them in?
Yes, yeah, I'd say we'll most
And will
definitely be
there
doing that.
Maybe I can
do
jump
we
in
do we
here.
know know if there will be like hard limitations on poly counts and things like that?
There absolutely will be. What they are right now,
Good.
I'm not 100% sure, but go ahead, Aline.
Currently, the limitation of Ready Player Me is 30,000 for a full avatar. And their automated LOD system just goes down to 15,000. So even on the lowest LOD, they just cut it in half, which is not enough, obviously, especially if you are far away. So we are actually thinking about a one-click Blender plugin solution where you bring in your avatar, you can just generate the rig, you can bind it easily, and then it does the automation, not the automation, the optimization automated. So you just click on a button, automate this avatar, and it will generate all the necessary LODs with the correct values and make sure everything is correct in place and will still look good. And then it should also be option included to directly download it to your SideQuest account, maybe. That
Okay.
were just things we were exploring. And yeah, that's the question to you guys. What do you think about just having a Blender plugin that, I mean, yeah, I know
have a
Blender
comment
is.
on that. I am
Yeah.
Blender incapable. I use 3ds Max.
Blender is hard.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my question. Since we were thinking if we're doing a Blender plugin, we would make it as simple as possible. Really just a few click solutions. You don't have to know anything about the program. There will be a
So I could
guide
build it in
that
Max,
will.
port it to Blender, and then hit a button. Off we go.
Yes,
That'd be the
exactly.
hope,
That's
yeah.
the plan.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be good because I really
What
can't
about a
use Blender.
Unity plugin?
Unity.
We probably
Unity
won't
plugin.
build plugins for every platform. We're probably going to focus on just Blender, but try to make that workflow as easy as possible. So even if you're not familiar with Blender, that'll be something that you can do. The truth is, Unity isn't a tool for really building avatars because there's a lot of things that you just can't do in Unity to build avatars. But like I said, with what we're proposing with this new avatar system, it could be possible to build an avatar anywhere you like, upload it to the Mixamo website and rig it, and it will work pretty much out of the box there. So you don't have to use our plugin if you don't want to. But if you want to, our plugin would allow you, hopefully, to like convert from other rigs to this rig if that's possible. It would generate all of these necessary optimized LODs for you. Yeah. Maybe Blender for that reason is probably always required. But yeah, obviously
What is
focusing
the desired mesh format? Will it be FBX or GLB?
GLB is what we're working towards. Yeah.
Okay.
For PBR shaders, I guess, right? PBR support. Cool. Cheers, Luke. Yeah. So I mean, I think what's exciting about that, I don't know if Aline mentioned this, maybe she did, but the biggest problem we have right now is that with Ready Player Me, their cloud-based automatic decimation just devastates the avatars, makes them look horrific, and the poly count doesn't really reduce enough for our purposes. But you know, even with experimenting with the built-in decimation modifiers in Blender, you can get much better results. So what we want to do is have those parts be client side inside of a plugin and also texture atlasing, that all of that happens there, that you've got access to it, that you can control it a little bit better and decide what you want to kind of give priority to. We've been talking about it internally.
Oh, yeah.
And we think that the plugin might generate two avatars, right? One for your local self that's super high poly and doesn't have any LODs or anything like that in there, and then a remote version that has a high poly version and then several layers of LODs that can hopefully reduce down to a few hundred polys.
So that's kind of like VR chat. They have it where you can do PC stuff. And are you listening to me? Am I talking? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I was just making sure because, like, you haven't been able to hear me for the first 20 minutes I was in here. Anyway, so that's kind of like VR chat where on the PC you can bring in a lot more things because you know the PC can handle more, but
It's not quite.
on the headset.
Not
Okay,
quite,
go
right?
ahead.
So VR chat system is targeted towards desktop and Quest
And
avatars.
Quest, yeah.
What we're talking about is a generic level of detail system that would apply, in effect, probably across all platforms, but might be more aggressive, let's say, on platforms like Quest because they're Android based. So it's not targeting one specific platform. It's more
Right.
people who are further away from you, their quality will reduce so that it's not taking up as much resource on your device. And that device could be your
So,
PC as much as your Quest.
is this going to be coming out before or after the new SDK?
After.
After? Okay.
Yeah.
Also something to mention with the Blender plugin, we were thinking about, I mean, we want to make it as easy as possible, but also give the people that know their stuff as much freedom as possible. So the optimization function and the atlasing stuff should only be optional. If you just don't want to do it, you can just say, okay, hit the magic button, make my avatar ready to use it. But obviously it won't be absolutely perfect. So if you still say, okay, I want to do some more specific work for my remote avatar, for example, I have this logo on my shoulder, which I want to be crystal clear at the end still to increase the texel density, then you should be able to absolutely do this to create your optimized avatar your own and create your LODs on your own and the atlasing and also the baking if you just want to get most out of it. It should be just help all people that don't want to do it and people that can't get enough of it doing it all manually.
Yeah.
So that's the main idea.
I think this is definitely something we've identified with Ready Player Me. Ready Player Me is designed to optimize, and it's the happy path. And if you follow that happy path, generally things are probably going to be okay for the most part. But sometimes you want to optimize your own avatar and you want to take a bit more control over that. And what we've found is that with the way that Ready Player Me optimizes things, it's not really built for pre-optimized avatars. I'll give you an example, right? So when they generate lower quality avatars, they do it based on a percentage. So if your avatar is already optimized, then they generate really crappy versions of it whenever they try to optimize it. Whereas they should probably take into account how many polys you're already using and allow you a little bit more control over how many your optimized versions are going to have and where they're going to be applied, right? And texturing and UV space is also another problem here. Ready Player Me are combining all your textures on the fly dynamically, and often they leave huge areas out or they don't put enough emphasis, or in some cases they repeat the texture across different areas within the UV space. And it just means that you could have higher quality avatars, but you don't. So those are definitely things we want. Exactly as Aline said, we want to give people who have the ability, the control to take over and take the wheel when they want to. But those who don't and they want a simple option, we want just a big red button style thing where you can just slam that button and it's probably going to do it for you. So yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to try and make it generally easier for multiple groups of people at the same time. So yeah, I don't know if that's it. If we run out of questions, or if there's more people in the other instance, maybe I'll swap back myself briefly and see how people are doing.
That, I know the avatars in Horizon. I think the big appeal to those avatars are because they're so modular. You can have.
I hear the. Oh, there you are. Sorry,
Yeah.
say that again. The
Yeah, I think the
the
appeal
Horizon
to
avatars because they're modular.
Yeah, I think they're kind of modular. You can face shapes, stuff like that. And well, I don't.
Sure.
Yeah, but
different.
in my experience, it's still pretty limited. So you have the face shape and the hairstyle, but the whole outfit is most of the time just a predefined full body outfit with shoes. So there is not like, oh, I like this T-shirt. Give me this T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem with that, like I say, is that you're trying to build something that's so generic that can cover off everybody. And everybody, I think, has really different needs when it comes to how unique they want to be. And building that gargantuan generic system means that it's incredibly difficult to optimize that. Whereas if you give people more power, more control to do something completely custom, which honestly more people seem to want, I think.
Right.
So I think what we can do is, continue to lean on the likes of Ready Player Me to provide that cross-platform modular, build it out, and they can then optimize that through their pipelines. But I think with what we're planning on building, it's not going to be anything like that, because honestly, I doubt how much value something like that really has, especially when you compare it to the amount of work that it's required to create something like that. And in the end of the day, honestly, I feel like systems like that end up just looking very generic, that most people end up pretty much kind of looking the same.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
there's no customization really beyond what they offer, right? And that's really difficult because
To me,
you commit so much to that there's no real room for anything custom on the other side of it, do you know?
Right.
to me,
I just say
the
everybody
meta
has big
avatars.
lips.
To me, the meta avatars are just another version of Nintendo Mii's and Xbox Live avatars. That's all it is to
Yes.
me. Like they all are very similar and not much room for customization. Personally, I
Gotcha.
prefer something like what the WWE Games Creation Suite offers, where you can
I remember that.
dress them, mold the face any way you want, that kind of thing.
Yes.
The one thing the WWE games have lacked in recent years is the ability to actually mold the body. They only have predefined body types in the game. They used to have where you could, in the older games, where you could modify the body shape and all that, but 2K is going to be 2K and cheap out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure it takes a lot to build out something so complex with so many
Oh, yeah.
different options. But we've got a question from the YouTube. I think Faye, you've got a question you want to relay from the live stream.
Yes, I do. If let's see, for Blender, is there a FBX file that you want optimized as a JBX? Will that be an option?
I think the format we're planning to go for here is GLB, because it supports physically based rendering and all of those beautiful options that we're probably unlikely to work with an FBX. Now, that's not to say that you won't use those as part of your workflow, because you absolutely could. I've mentioned Mixamo a bunch of times today, and yeah, Mixamo works with FBXs, either for full models or just for animations that you want to download. FBX is a great format for transporting those in general. But there's extra shader properties, extra material properties that we'd like to take advantage of, which GLB offers that FBX doesn't. JBX,
PBR
I've never
can
heard
lead
of.
to PBR can lead to realistic looking textures and shaders, correct?
Yeah.
Like almost
Okay,
photoreal.
Well, I think a photoreal, yeah, I mean, certainly possible, but it really depends, right, on what kind of aesthetic you're going for your own avatar. But yeah.
Yeah, if you go for robots, then photorealistic is easier to do if you go as a meat blob, because then you're going to need subsurface scattering, which unfortunately we can't do.
You hear
Not
that,
on Quest.
meat blobs? All you
Is
meat
there any
blobs
way
out
to
there.
make that on Quest?
Sorry, can you
There's no real
repeat?
way to fake it, I don't think. It just requires more detail, more definition.
I mean, absolutely, you can fake it if you want. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can do it, but we definitely don't want it because it's really performance hungry. But you can absolutely pre-bake subsurface scattering into your albedo texture. That's absolutely
So it
something you
still
can do.
looks
Or you,
decent and it doesn't hit performance.
yes, exactly. Or in the emission channel, that's also an option if you want to do this. So yeah, the main target, I would say, is currently we only have albedo because it's simple, it's performant. But for the overhaul, we definitely want metallic roughness and also emission. And we're probably going to pack metallic and roughness into one texture, like GLB is already doing it automatically. But then with the new LOD system, it's not just mesh LOD, but also shader LOD. So people that are close have the full PBR. People that are farther away will fall back to the diffuse only to save on performance.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's great about building out our own LOD pipeline is that we can really cater it best to what we're doing and expand it beyond just necessarily the poly count. So yeah, that's definitely a plan. Is that us? Have we reached the end? No more thoughts or questions? Or...
Not that
I would just be interested how many people actually want dynamic bones.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have 3 jumpers,
want 'em for
4
others.
jumpers, 5, 6, 7.
People want 'em.
Have some in my room too.
I think you guys would just jump for anything. How many of you guys want an apple? Yeah, give me an apple. Give me some of that apple. You.
If you're talking about the fruit apple, only if it's John of Gold.
If it's a
But if you're talking about devices, yeah.
I'm talking about an Apple Vision Pro. No, geez.
Yes, you can get free. Hell yeah.
Wait, what?
If I
Okay.
have to pay for it,
Everybody
hell
who
no.
jumped,
An Apple Vision Pro?
you're dead to me.
Dude, is anybody in here with an Apple Vision Pro? I'm curious.
I was the other day, but
Does it work pretty
I
well?
thought
It's
you were
bad.
talking about an apple to eat.
I was. I actually was. That's what I meant. Apple to eat. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
That's what
okay.
I first asked.
I
The
did.
only apples I
Genuinely.
can eat more
That's why I
than
thought
one
nobody
bite
would
of are
want
John
it,
of Golds.
but everybody was jumping anyway.
I love
I guess people
apples.
like apples.
I like the green
Yeah.
apples. Yeah.
Nice. Granny
Pink lady,
Smith.
pink lady apple.
Anybody?
Idea of you know,
John of Golds
spawning
'cause
your
they're super sweet.
avatar portal and then just jumping
Yeah.
in it and changing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's a good
You
idea.
have it like Iron Man or Venom or something that it just slowly wraps its way around you or something.
Yeah.
Hey, Luke,
Yeah.
what can I do you for?
Question: is the physics of the avatar handling going to change at all?
Possibly. Have you got some thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, the whole kind of like nudge it sideways and you keep going like you're drunk. I prefer more kind of the snappy. When I let go, I'd like to stop. Can that be an
Gotcha.
option, maybe?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly in future. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's just like a personal preference in the settings or something, just switch it on.
Yeah, possibly. It's hard to know. There's obviously many different physical properties that come together
Mhm.
to decide how you're going to move around. But there's every opportunity for us to try and surface some options there, as long as they don't generally compromise the character controller, right? I think this is probably separate to some degree from our conversation, even though the two are linked. And we definitely have to consider them together. But yeah, the character controls and the inputs and all of that sort of physics-based stuff. To some degree, we may be able to give some control over it, but also it's physics, right? If you land
Yeah.
and you're moving quickly, you're going to slide. We can't stop that.
Yeah, no, I understand in
it's
certain
physics-based.
situations it's going to be advantage to have momentum. Say if you're running and jumping over a gap, or you know whatever.
It's actually more of a delicate balance overall of being able to have the character work, right? In some cases, if we start to try and shoehorn in restrictions into that, we may inadvertently break something fundamental that kind of makes it work. Like our character controller here is obviously considerably different from any other platform in that it's physics based, right? I can lift myself up, I can take my feet off the ground, all of
Just
that
like
kind of
Bone
stuff.
Lab.
Just exactly like Bone Lab and Boneworks. In fact, our physics character controller is modeled on that. Now, I'll be honest, we are pretty committed to that. It's a physics-based platform. I don't think that's something that we're ever going to change.
No, I don't
But
have a
it
problem with
also
that.
it does also introduce some limitations. Like, I'm not sure when we get to it if it's something that we can do in terms of being able to like scale the avatar, for instance, because scaling away from a one-to-one scale might drastically affect your ability to walk, jump, run, all of those various different things, because the mass of your avatar across several rigid bodies combined together, tied together in a way that they're almost ready to explode. But all of that has been pretty, I guess, tightly calibrated, right? That's not to say that that's not something that we can expose in future, but we just need to do it in a way that it's not going to leave you in a broken situation where
Yeah, I understand.
you can't get up a hill, or you can't go over a very small ledge because all of a sudden your avatar physical proportions are different, right? So, I mean, yeah. Long story short, there's definitely some stuff that we can explore there for sure. We just need to make sure that it's not going to break something else for you.
Yeah, I mean, in social situations, not doing parkour and things like that, sometimes you might move around to see people, and it's a weird feeling compared to other platforms that you have the inertia that when I stop, like I think I'm going to stop, but I keep going.
Sure. I mean, to some degree, I guess what's your weird feeling could be somebody else's preference, right? So that's why things like this
Yeah.
are
That's why I
probably
was
good
saying
to
just a
have
toggle maybe.
as a preference. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it, like I say, it does depend. Because if we can't do what you're asking without compromising the character controller, then that might not be something that we can do at all. But we can certainly explore it, right? It's definitely something that
Yeah.
we're
It's
willing to
just an idea.
explore. But the truth is, we are like, I don't think we can have an existence where we've got physics-based characters and non-physics-based characters existing together in the same world. For a number of reasons, that introduces problems, right? So at some point, we need to figure out what's the biting point there, and what's the difference. And I'll be honest with you, the person who made the character controller, we've been toying around internally about trying to contract them to help us create something that's bespoke and specific to us, that kind of captures a lot of what we like about this and maybe helps to solve some of the problems about it, right? But me personally, I love the inertia. I think it actually helps with motion sickness. I find that it makes it feel a lot more real, that I get a chance to kind of slow down a little bit. But that's just me. That's just my preference, right? And different people different strokes for different folks.
That makes me think of another question. Do you think there's ever a possibility to integrate some kind of either full body or upper body tracking with something like Slime VR?
Yeah, in fact, that's on our roadmap, is to implement
Cool.
full body tracking. Yeah, totally.
Cool.
That's
Because I
definitely something I'm
actually, I've been dabbling in Slime VR, not with actual slimes, but with Joy-Cons, using them as slime trackers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. OSC is the protocol of choice there. It's the magic behind it. I think a lot of how that will work, and that's what we want to focus on, is having support for OSC, and if need be, maybe native support for some other things like Quest waist and leg estimation, and just Vive trackers, right, on PC. Those might be some examples of some native implementations, but OSC kind of opens up the ability for all sorts of tracking, right? Not just necessarily body tracking, but whatever, right? That'll be where we'll be kind of excited to see what people will do with that.
Cool.
What about, like, I don't know if anyone's asked about, like, makeup or just like something that we could put, like, I don't know, it wouldn't be called makeup for some people, but you know what I mean, just like stuff on your face and stuff like that, like to design stuff on your face. Would we have anything to do with that? Like, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Maybe. Yeah, face paint. There we go. We can call it face paint for some.
Like they do in wrestling.
Yeah, something like that.
Possibly. I'm not too sure if that kind of falls under the same kind of umbrella of that's where you build out your customization, and somewhere like Ready Player Me would be where you would do something like that. And really, here in Banter, we only get the end result, right? The fully compiled avatar where everything has been combined and optimized. But I'm not sure. Maybe there's a possibility to introduce something like a decal system or something, as long as it was optimized. That's the key. If everybody in the room has got all sorts of different stickers or paint all over them and stuff like that, how do we make sure that's not going to make performance go to crap? But yeah, I don't know. Aline, have you got any thoughts?
Yes, actually. So you saw we have this huge canvas over there where you can paint on, and you can also use some stamps. And I was actually thinking this could be a possibility that you can just have your avatar in front of you and then just paint your avatar. And then when you're done, it will save the texture and will replace your texture on your avatar.
Oh my Lancer, that would be awesome.
That would be brilliant. Yeah. That's
Probably everyone can paint your avatar, so you can everyone can sign it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly interesting. I think that's the sort of thing that we would probably explore once, we've rolled out, let's say, phase 1 of this. And I'll be honest, it could be something that is a community created thing, because I don't think it necessarily has to be something that we would necessarily need to create, right? And if
Yeah,
we're talking
I absolutely think we
Yeah.
can do this with visual scripting with SDK V2. That you just have a specific space where you stand in a circle and then it duplicates your avatar in front of you, does all the painting setup, and then you can just start painting on it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Face paint.
Yes. I would like to caveat that with Aline sometimes
You're
says
so
things and they
smart.
may not necessarily be what ends up being
It's
the thing that
coming.
we build, right? Because
But I believe in
it's nice to be
her.
able to say that, but there's a few barriers there. Believe in her or not, ultimately I'll be the one to make the decision. But yeah, obviously we want to
Well,
do
you are
things
the
like that. It
CEO
just
after all.
depends. That's right. But it just depends, right? There's a balance here. We need to be able to ensure that there's a balance. And what Aline discussed there involved quite a lot of overlap between SDK and avatar system, which isn't something we've necessarily talked about at length. But that's okay. You've got to come up with the blue sky ideas first, right? And then work back from there. I think that's the best way to
That was a good
do
idea.
these kind of things. Yeah. I mean, I think, having a dedicated space where maybe you could have some generic templates and be able to paint on them and produce something from that, whatever way this works, something like that would definitely be possible, right? It's just, how much of that could be integrated, how much of that could be automated, how much of that could be shared. These are kind of the questions that we need to answer. And there is some hidden complexities in there for sure. There definitely is. But yeah, we can try and figure out those problems together.
I mean, even if it's just you paint it, you save the texture, and then you have to go into the folder on your device, grab the texture, throw it in Blender onto your avatar, and submit your avatar as your new avatar.
Yeah.
That should be
Yeah, like I say,
something that's
that sounds like
obviously
a community created world then, not necessarily an integrated system for
yes,
painting.
yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking about. More something, yeah, everyone builds and is included in there.
Yeah. No, I when you say things, Aline, they honestly sound so great and so forward thinking. I know a bunch of people are like, yay, great. So that's going to arrive in the build next month. And I just need to caveat it, right? We're talking about things. These are all blue sky ideas. Most of what we're talking about right now is really about sort of feedback and thinking about what is going to be possible, not what is going to be guaranteed. I just need to caveat it with that so that you're not all
Okay.
asking me next week when are these things coming, right? Because that's not what this is. This isn't here's a list of demands, now go and build it. This is a conversation about what could be possible.
When's SDK 3?
SDK v3, nice.
So the SDK is coming out tomorrow, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Nothing wrong with fantasy.
In 3 hours?
Yeah. No, it's true. But I think what we want to do is take that fantasy and try and turn it into reality as best we can. Right.
Right.
That's what this whole process is. It's just about trying to figure out, how can we turn this into some actual actionable things that we can then prioritize.
Whoa. What was that?
Are you freaking out because Triffid is humming beside you?
No,
And...
no, no. There's something on the screen that just happened. I was just like, you didn't see it because it's behind you. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Triffid always comes. I haven't seen
Yeah,
this
window
one.
came up and then went away, I think.
Yeah, well, this is a live stream from Aline's screen, so yeah, it could be anything at all. Yeah, sorry, Faye, I think you had some questions from the YouTube.
Yes, there's one in particular from YouTube. Another question, could you client-side the physics visually? Server-siding the actual movement being server-side, maybe add user-based pauses or sensitivity for more mental movement?
I mean, the physics would probably always be client-sided, I would say. Yeah, we're not going to probably try and do any kind of complex server-side physics or any kind of complex out-of-the-box kind of physics-based kind of synchronization, right? Because whether you guys realize it or not, that is a very difficult thing. There's a reason why Boneworks and Bone Lab are not multiplayer apps out of the box, is because networking and physics honestly generally don't go well together. So I think generally we'll always do client-side physics. The second part of that question, I have no idea what that means. So I don't really know how to answer that part. Maybe, I don't know. Does anybody else understand what that means?
I was thinking it was more on the lines for comfort, possibly, like changing the movement so that people would have more comfort, but I'm not completely sure. Maybe if they could expand it on the YouTube, I could get back with you on that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's hang tight for that. But I mean, if it is related to comfort, yeah, I mean, being able to we've often talked about a light mode, right? That's less physics intensive on the character controller. We have talked about that, and maybe that pertains to some of the comments here earlier tonight. But being able to find out what makes sense to surface in terms of configuration for your character, whether that's your movement speed or your rotation speed, and being able to fine tune those to your own comfort levels is definitely something that we want to include. Possibly unrelated, I think, a little bit to this conversation, but there's a bit of overlap for sure. Did you say Shoseki also had a comment or a question as well?
He has a comment he typed out for me. So he says,
Gotcha.
As a World of Warcraft fan, I wanted to say how much I personally like the standardized model and standardized clothing permutations model. Seeing people being really creative using different styles with different clothing items I've always found interesting. You can go on YouTube and see Avatar Competition from World of Warcraft to see some really interesting looks. Obviously, it would have to be opened up and padded out with more options.
Sure. I mean, this honestly, it feels like what we're talking about here is the generic system where you pick from a bunch of accessories or parts and assemble them together. What we're talking about here is not that, right? That is a massive undertaking, a huge system to build. And right now, as far as we're concerned, the resources that we want to apply to this, that would take us, years to build. And we'd like to be able to build something that can fit more needs in the shorter term. And if people want that sort of an accessory-based system where you can build up from a predefined set of components, then Ready Player Me is where we're going to point you towards for that, right? So just to be clear, we have talked about a possible special consideration for wings. And the reason we've talked about that is because there's an actual possible future functional requirement for those that people will be able to fly, right? Not requirement, but they could certainly work functionally. But beyond that, a system like that is extremely difficult to optimize. I think I've said that a few times now. And also ends up often looking very generic unless you invest years and years and years of time into building up an enormous amount of options and permutations there. And that's not what we want to do. We don't want to get bogged down in trying to build the master avatar system to solve all situations and take years building it. We just want to give people more access, more control. They can build really cool things if that's what they want to build. They can build them for themselves and build them for others. Or they can use systems like Ready Player Me if they want to use a whole predefined set of options, right? With, a certain amount of automation built in there to make it even easier with, being able to scan your face from a camera. Or maybe T-Max's avatar here. Remind me again, what's the name of the platform that your avatar is generated from?
Avaturn.
Avaturn is another interesting one, similar to Ready Player Me, right?
And that uses 3 images of your face.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's another example of how you can kind of take some individual customization of you, assemble it together with a bunch of predefined parts to create something like that. I don't think that's something that we want to create because it is an enormous undertaking and would take a massive amount of our resource I feel would be better spent in other areas. And I think we can get 95% of the way there in terms of giving people full customization without having to build all that, right? We can build 95% of that value by leaning on third parties that already do it and going that final extra mile to give people, they can do whatever they want, kind of within some kind of reasonable limits, let's say.
Yep. Speaking of the Avaturn, Discord is up behind you.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
definitely a
so,
very interesting platform.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's a few different platforms similar to it and Ready Player Me that are doing really interesting things right now. And yeah, I mean, if there's ways for us to incorporate that sort of customization therein, and then be able to stand on the shoulders of giants in that regard, and be able to lean on existing systems like that, right? I think for us, that makes way more sense than us trying to start from scratch, build an entirely closed ecosystem that has all of these separate customizable parts that you can piece together. That's going to be, I think, much worse off in the longer run for most people.
Oh,
Yeah.
they added Apple Vision Pro as a wearable.
Lovely.
It's like when they added a virtual reality headset as a wearable in WWE 2K.
Awesome. Okay, well, look, guys, I think that's it for me for now. I have to jump off. I've got a sick dog beside me who I've been nursing all day, and I've got to look after her for the rest of the evening. So I've got to jump off myself.
Poor puppy.
But
Those arms.
for anybody who was, wow, there you go.
What happened there?
Oh my god.
She does not look happy.
Oh,
That
you
looks-
shrunk the arms.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I
And
take it back.
something's wrong
Shrunken
with
arms
their-
is
with
great.
their eyes there.
Shrunken arms is great. Everything that's
Yes,
more
that's
little than
pretty
big
cool.
is great. Any of you know me and know my preferred head size?
I
knows
like
that I can
it.
get on board
It's
with
like
this.
Barbie arms. I love it.
What program is that?
Oh,
That's
much better.
Avaturn.
Avaturn.
Oh.
That's what mine is based on. Although mine is
T-Max here.
very decimated right now.
Okay, so I will say that normally this segment would have been Aline's 3D waffle. That's usually where we run this, where Aline takes us through some finer points of some 3D workflow or whatever it is. But we've kind of filled it up this week with the Avatar event. So apologies, anybody who was looking forward to that. You can catch it this same time an hour ago. Every Sunday. That's an event we do every week. And in the meantime, there's a great event coming up in about an hour called Banter Highlights, which is run by our very own Eamon and Gemchick, and also Helen. And yeah, they just go through some of the funniest moments that they've managed to record throughout the week on the platform. And honestly, they're usually pretty funny. So I definitely recommend that. That's in a space created by Peroxide. That's in Peroxide's Club Atlas space that those guys do that in, which is a great space. Definitely recommend it. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, I've got to bounce, guys. Really enjoyed this. And next week we'll be back to Space Makers at this time, but the following week we'll be doing the same thing again. So if you've got any thoughts, anything that you've kind of mulled over between now and then, please come join us. Let's continue this conversation and see what we can kind of figure out for the future. But yeah, thanks everybody, and
Have a good night.
I'll see you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.